We are live. It's B. Dolan in the house. And it's an honour, an absolute honour to have B. Dolan on the week that we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop. It's an honour to have one of my favourite hip-hop artists, writers and performers. And hi, I'm here. Starting the moment we've started. So yeah, B. Dolan, for those that don't know, fantastic MC, writer, live performer. I think I first seen him supporting Scroobius Pip at the Archies about, I don't know when that would have been, maybe 2011. And then I actually booked him for a gig in Glasgow at Pivo Pivo in 2012. And I always make sure that I see B when he comes to town, which he'll be coming to Glasgow, Edinburgh next week, and a bunch of UK dates. So we're here to talk about that and the new album. And I think we can go live to the US of A right now. B. Dolan, can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going? I can hear you.
Good, mate. I'm very, very well. Thank you so much, mate. It's good to finally get you on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you on, but you've been through a lot. You've been busy making your album, and you've been recovering from back operations and everything.
Yeah.
But it's especially good to have you because it's the 50th year of hip-hop. So my first question to you would be, can you name your top 50 hip-hop artists in order?
All right, I gotta go. Thanks for having me.
Okay, what about top 5? Can we do a top 5 roughly?
No,
I don't think so.
I love it too much, man. I love it too much.
What about an album that changed your life and got you into hip hop? Was there a specific? Was there a moment that you went, "Shall I do that?"
Yes, I know that album specifically. It was "The Diary" by Scarface.
Amazing.
And I was 12 years old when I heard it, and I was in the back of my older cousin's truck, and he's driving, and he just had the tape in, and I had heard hip hop before that. I was born in 1981, so I'm a little younger than a number of hip hop heads that came from the older school, but. So I had heard like Jazzy Jeff and Run DMC, but I was a little kid kind of. And so when I was like just at that right age of like adolescence, I heard Scarface, and he just said certain shit in his raps that like the kind of like horror / gangster stuff appealed to me just because it was like not allowed and language that my parents wouldn't be into. But then the kind of like real shit he had to say about like depression and the government and racism and shit like that, it all just made so much sense to me, and I hadn't heard it being spoken of anywhere else around me, because where I grew up and when I grew up, hip-hop was not like everywhere yet. It was actually something you had to like seek out and find, because the dominant music was still like rock music and like hair bands and shit, that metal and that type of stuff where I came from. So yeah, that was the one that like I caught the bug, and then we would just grab certain tapes and kind of like scavenge them, squirrel them away, play the shit out of them until the track list was all worn off and the sound quality had degraded to shit. Method Man's To Cal album was one that I had like that. Ready to Die by Big E, which is how I first heard Method Man, and then got it.
See my t-shirt.
Oh shit, there he is. So yeah, that was the stuff that got me hooked early. And then, I mean, obviously I'm an MC all these decades later, so I've been inspired along the way continually all the time. And that's why the top 5 thing is always just like, I could name 5 MCs that I really like, but
what about 5 underrated MCs? How about that?
That's an interesting question.
I don't think Scarface gets the props that he deserves.
No, absolutely not.
So I would kind of put him in that category, because obviously there's been lots of, with the chat of 50 years, there's just been loads of really interesting content, people talking about their favourite.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Sage Francis put a post up, it was actually your friend Sage said something about how did they know that it actually started on that day? Because obviously when people did everyone just start suddenly breakdancing? They just suddenly knew it instantly. So,
well, it's the date that's being celebrated is related to the original block party, which was thrown by Cindy Campbell, and at which Kool Herc started juggling records and breaks and looping them together, and it was sort of considered like the birth of hip hop. But yeah, I mean, what Cool Herc was doing, sort of something that had already existed within Jamaican sound clash culture, and even to have somebody on the mic, kind of like amping up the DJ, is very much like from Jamaica. And then obviously, like the breakbeats being used are resampling all of jazz, funk, and James Brown, to me, arguably, is kind of a fucking early rapper. Like when I see footage of James Brown, or even just hear some of his songs like Mind Power and shit, that music is very like African in origin, because it you can even kind of hear the stuff like Fela Kuti and them. Like James Brown to me is an American version of that. And that music tends to rely on like slow changes over time and like grooves and shit, but the drums are kind of like steady, almost like a beat. Like I could easily rap over so much of James Brown's music, and James Brown is rapping over his music. Like sometimes he's just talking like, ha, we're dealing with situation, like, and then like, yeah, and the call and response shit that he does, like, I'm like, this is emceeing, this is hip hop. Like, it's just, at the time it was classified.
What is the line between like spoken word and rap music, or poetry? I think that can sometimes be an interesting question. I was actually playing some of your stuff last night, and is it still electric? I think I've told you the last time I spoke to you about how great that is. When does it stop becoming poetry and become MCing?
Yeah, it's all. I mean, the music is is to me the only real difference. And if I were to get like ambient music and play it underneath some spoken word, like, arguably it gets even fuzzier, the line between the two. Is it experimental rap or is it spoken word? It's always been pretty arbitrary to me, and I don't necessarily like classify it as such in my mind. But yeah, I to me, honestly, I've never invested much in the distinction between the two, because if you're a good rapper, to me, like, your lyrics are very much poetry. So again, like, it just gets blurrier and blurrier. Sometimes the difference is just being imposed on it by people for one reason or another, whether they're academic or whether they're trying to sell a ticket, or they invent the labels.
I've got here your UK tour dates coming up. You're
Nice.
doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days at the Fringe. Three,
Yeah.
four, then Hug and Pint, Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, Bristol, Brighton, London, Preston, Dublin.
Yeah.
What's better, Edinburgh or Glasgow?
He's trying to get me in some shit now. I like them both. I think I think about moving to Scotland, man. I really fucking dig Scotland. I like the people there. I like the cities. I like the country in general. I like the vibe. I like I feel like I could fit in there. I think if I were to live in one, I would probably live in Glasgow, because Edinburgh seems like kind of a tourist destination to me. I know, I'm sure there are plenty of people that work and live in Edinburgh, but all the stuff there kind of feels like it's bait for tourists. Like, it's not their fault. The beautiful castle with the big peak and lots of cool shit. And it reminds me of an international city a lot more than a lot of other UK cities. It almost reminds me of Amsterdam sometimes, in that, like, I can kind of see every race of people from around the globe represented, and all the food from all the places is in there. Like, that's what I associate with Amsterdam, of like, this is an international city where lots of people come and lots of cultures meet, and it's cool. I love that energy. But Glasgow feels like where, like, neighborhood people live. Yeah.
No, I think you've kind of nailed that. I mean, obviously Edinburgh's got its own schemes and it's got its own sort of thing outside Edinburgh, but it seems quite strange that people that live in the schemes in Edinburgh don't feel part of Edinburgh City,
Right.
don't feel represented at Edinburgh Fringe. Well,
Right.
if you go to a gig at Glasgow, you're going to get people of working class, middle
Yeah.
class, and It's just a sort of melting pot in that regards. Where are you just now? Are you Rhode Island? Is it Rhode Island that you're based, or is that where you were from originally?
Yeah, that's where I grew up. I
What's Rhode
briefly
Island like? I just don't know much about it.
it's a strange little place. It's the smallest state in America, and it's on the East Coast. It's right in between Boston and New York. So Boston is 1 hour north, New York is 3 hours south. So it tends to kind of be a lane through which lots of culture has passed through the years because it's all sort of right there. But it's also by nature of being a very small city. It's one of those places where like all the creative people kind of know each other, even if they're not doing the same type of thing or in the same type of genre. So you kind of end up just by nature of like, there's only so many people in this area that are alternative or, what in the scene. So the friends you have that are into like hardcore are going to end up bringing you to their hardcore show, and you're going to end up bringing them to your rap show. So it's definitely like a very tiny little pressure cooker that has resulted in, like, for its size, an unusual amount of creativity and bands coming out of it. It's always been a unique place.
I think I first seen you supporting Scroobius Pip at the Arches. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I've seen you. Obviously, you played Pivo Pivo. You had the horn. We've got the Horn Dog Brass Band. I think it was with you as well.
That's right. I remembered that show, that
Border
People
Crossing.
show. There, yes, there was a brass band, and were there like fire performers at that show too?
Yes, there was burlesque and stuff. You just
Yeah,
told me
yeah,
to
yeah.
get. You said try not to book
That's
any
right.
rappers. Try and get it to
Yes.
be just make it a bit of a circus. You wanted a
Yeah.
circus freak show or something like that. So
Yeah.
they tried their best. We actually had some acts that
That's right.
they actually cancelled at the last minute because of DF. I think they had contractual obligations with DF, sadly, so it didn't go exactly according to plan. But it was a great show. I've seen you play the wee jazz cafe. So I posted up the picture earlier on, which is just sadly is no longer the Blue Arrow. I think it was.
Mm.
So that was there.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
So that was with Epic Beard
That was a
Men.
great
So
show.
what it was, it's in a stereo as well. Actually, I had half a band supporting you at
Yeah.
stereo once, and it was a bit disappointing because Jess, who plays the synth and has all the beats in the keyboard or whatever, she couldn't
Yeah.
make it, so we had to kind of sort of throw a backing track on and a guitar, and we weren't at our best. But yeah, still, it was an honour to open the stage for you. What have you got any? Is there any gigs that stand out? When you hit the UK, is there any venues that you just really liked playing?
Yeah, there's a couple on this list. We're going to the Broodnell Social Club in Leeds,
I've
and
heard
that's
good things. I've heard good
yeah,
things.
yeah. I've been there a bunch, and I really like that venue a lot. Glasgow has always been so lit, man. It one of the first times I guess I was headlining by myself in Glasgow. It was the very first show of the tour, and it was being handled by a booking agent. And I had like just made the transatlantic journey. I think I don't know. I was in some in between city because I remember I was trying to sleep off the jet lag in the airport in one of those little like pod hotel things, and I got notice that some new booking agent at this club had like booked too many shows and totally spaced my show. And I found out just as I arrived that it hadn't been like promoted or announced at all. And or that it had been announced at the wrong club or something like that. And it was going to be our first show, and I'm like panicking. I'm calling the agent. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and and so then we called the place that it was supposed to be, and they were like, "Oh, you're B Dolan. Like, we've been getting all these phone calls from people trying to buy tickets, and we don't have any tickets here for you." And I was like, "Well, is anything happening at the club tonight?" And they were like, "No." I was like, "Okay, well,
Do the gig then.
yeah, can we still do our
Nice
fucking
and
show?"
sleazy's that was, mate. That was nice and
Yeah,
sleazy's,
yeah,
if I
yeah,
remember rightly, because I think you sent me an email or something saying, basically, someone booked you and then has disappeared or something, or
yeah.
ghosted you or
Well,
something
he
like
didn't
that.
disappear because
They
the
just said,
booking agent. I was lucky enough to have a booking agent handling it, so
"Oh right, okay."
they called this promoter, and they were like, "Dude, you fucked up. You owe this guy money." And so the promoter, I had to meet him that day at an ATM, and he had to take out my full show fee, give it to me, and then I still wanted to do the show, and Nice and Sleazy's was like, sure. So it was a free show, and everybody that came brought like 5 friends because it was a free show. So anyone that was like on the fence about like, oh, maybe I'll check this out, maybe I won't, came through. And it was like one of the most packed, fun shows I've ever had anywhere. And ever since then, Glasgow has always been the shit. Like wild, like noticeable, great energy, great place to start a tour, great place to end a tour, just like one of our best audiences in the world.
Yeah, I was at that gig as well. It was a great one. It was superb. I was going to ask you what you made of Melle Mel's Eminem diss, and have you ever dissed another rapper?
I have dissed other rappers. I've dissed them subliminally and very, very clearly, and like no one has ever taken the bait. I've sort of been waiting my whole career for somebody to try it, to cross the line. It's inside me to tear somebody limb from limb. I did it to Justin Timberlake. But nah, I mean, oh, the Melle Mel Eminem thing. Yeah, that was like the worst birthday present for hip hop, I think. That was that battle. That was like we had a big party and somebody brought a big shit sandwich to the party, and I was like, oh, hey, all right, put that over with the other gifts, I guess. Yeah,
It's a bit of a shame they apologised and took it down because I was looking forward to the response. I had the popcorn ready,
yeah,
but
none of that, none of
I
that.
don't think there'll be any more responses anymore. I think that he dissed himself with that.
Eminem did too, though, man. It's just like, don't diss Melle Mel. If you're Eminem, there's absolutely no reason in the whole world that you should diss Melle Mel. I mean, I get it. I understand. There's unfortunately there's just this whole clickbait kind of thing of getting these like older respected rap heads to come on and then ask them, basically, lure them into saying something that's controversial or negative, mostly negative, like a lot of what's online. It's like if you can get me to diss some fucking rapper, and take the headline out of this clip of, like B Dolan says KRS-One isn't shit, like, and get KRS-One to respond. But it's like Eminem is at a level of fame and fortune that he should be so far above that. And like, if Melle Mel, is in his feelings one day and wants to sound off, these are cats who pioneered the art form, who never got paid what they would have been paid 20 years later. What, Jay-Z got paid when he said, I'm charging now for what you did to the Cold Crush, like saying like, you're going to pay me because you didn't pay them, which is cool. But hip hop doesn't have a union, and hip hop doesn't have a pension for these old heads. So like, there's lots of people around who are foundational, are historic figures, and who like gave us the music that we have and that we've earned everything from. So it's like, and I hate it when I see them saying some wild shit. Half the time they're saying some wild shit about queer people that I don't fucking agree with, and I'm just like, stop putting a camera in this guy's face, man. This is an old person. Don't ask him about that question. Like, we don't need to have a debate about how he feels about this. And so with Melle Mel, whatever interview question got him to say what he said about Eminem, and he can feel how the fuck he feels, like maybe he does feel Eminem is overrated. Maybe he has a good reason to feel that way. Maybe he doesn't. But for Eminem to then diss him is just like, hip hop is 50 years old, and that means that this tree has branched in so many different directions and become so much bigger than what it was. For you to now like go point at your granddad and just be like, I'll beat your ass, granddad. It's just like, yes, you can beat your granddad's ass, but should you beat your granddad's ass? Like is that the most loving thing you could do for your granddad? Like, yes, this is hip hop. Yes, battle, battle, battle. But like, come on, man. Like, go at Tech Nine, go at Kendrick Lamar, go at somebody who's going to give you a run for your money. Like that's the culture of the battle. To me, like, what's great about a battle is if I've got Jay-Z and Nas Common and Ice Cube, like two MCs who I don't know who's going to take this, because they are both equally like peers and competitors in
Well, I mean,
time.
in that same note, there was also Eminem also kind of did this on that same song, did a sort of mild response to The Game, who made the Black Slim Shady song.
Right.
But I think in that he just didn't want to make the. Obviously, the bait was for Eminem to diss The Game so that he could sell more records, and I think Eminem
Yeah.
just went, nah, and it wasn't
Yeah.
a great diss either.
Eminem was in his feelings, you know, and unfortunately, some of the stuff Eminem had to say about race was like real unfortunate in that song, and kind of like revealed some like feelings that maybe, you know, he's saying, you know, like, I don't have the exact text, but basically saying that like race is the reason he can't be considered the best MC of all time. It's like, okay, pump the brakes, Jack. To me, what that reeked of was like, you got emotional that day. You heard somebody that you looked up to say your name in a negative context, and you loaded up the fucking nuclear bombs and dialed in a strike. and you're a little
Well,
out.
I was in battle mode. I think he was in battle mode. But it's interesting when you mentioned about homophobia there as well. I remember you were always quick to call out, you know, years and years ago. It's totally advanced a lot in this country as well. But you know, we I think you actually, one of the support acts used a homophobic word, and at that time, it was, I think, because there was a lot of people that were that generation were inspired by Eminem, who did get away with saying a lot of words,
right?
That they wouldn't fly these days at all. And luckily, the culture has changed so much that it's very unusual that you hear anything like that. But back then, I mean, you're talking about 12, 13 years ago, I believe. There was words that were the blind eye was turned at. These were kind of conscious rappers. Who sometimes just said some stupid things. But I remember you calling it out once, and it did make me realise, wait a minute, why are we turning a blind eye to stuff like that? There's no place for it.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's complicated within rap to talk about it as well. It's rap is a black art form, primarily grew out of the black experience in America, spread to the whole world. That black experience in America has been grappling with homophobia and issues about masculinity since our country's original sin of slavery and what was done to black men to demasculate them, or, you know, so then, okay, so any type of abuse is going to sort of tend to like provoke a strong reaction in the opposite direction that might itself become abusive. So if you take away the ability of black men to be men and to protect their families, and, or, you know, young boys are feeling powerless and feeling cut off from their masculinity, it becomes a very natural, or it's not surprising that somebody then wants to throw a slur and be like, you are effeminate and that is bad. But then, you know, again, that culture sets fire to the whole world, and now the whole world is saying these words and doesn't even totally understand why this is a part of it. Like, it's just bad to be this. This is just something we say in battle rap. This is a way that we are. And it doesn't get questioned until somebody goes like, hey, that's pretty fucked up what you just said. And it's like, yeah, but I was rapping. And it's like, yeah, but it's still fucked up, right? Like, you know, that like there could be people here in this crowd who like you just made feel real shitty for no fucking reason. Did you have to do that kind of? So yeah, I'm glad that over time that has become less acceptable.
Absolutely, it definitely has changed. Certainly in Scotland, in the local scene anyway, I've noticed it. I mean, obviously, you're never scared to wear your politics in your sleeves. You know, you get some classics like "Which Side Are You On?", "Film the Police." I mean, how important do you think it is as an artist's role to call out injustice? And also, just on a wee side note, what the hell's going on over there with your former president getting 4 indictments? Do you think that they can actually? I mean, I was very sceptical up until recently. I was like, well, they're never, no matter what happens, they're never going to send a former president of the United States of America to jail. But with 4 indictments now, do you think it will actually happen? Can it happen?
He's the best chance you ever have of seeing a president go to jail, I'd say. If it's gonna happen, I think he's gonna do it. He's he certainly pioneered the field of being an openly criminal piece of shit.
But he
While
did everything right, but they indicted him.
yeah, he did
He made the
everything.
perfect phone calls. And what
Yeah,
would happen if he was to go to jail? Do you think? Obviously, it's hard to get a grasp because obviously the only kind of I try and keep an eye on American politics, but it's either through the lens of Fox News or CNN and trying to work out where the truth is, if there is any truth there, and YouTube reactors or maybe Twitch stream reactors.
yeah,
Is if Trump was to go to jail, would that do you think that would galvanise his fan base? Could that kick shit off?
it's possible. I personally, with me, it's been a lot of years and so much research and time and organizing and talking to other people who are organizing that like who the president is never actually that much a part of the calculus of like what is actually happening in terms of people's political realities in their lives. The president changing will affect some things one way or another, but largely for my entire adult life, the U.S. has been run in the same exact way with just slightly different, you know, political puppets giving the big speech at different times. But the money we invest in our military has never changed. The fact that we continue to exercise like imperialism all over the world doesn't change. So for me, I really love this writer named Bell Hooks, who I definitely recommend people to like seek out books by.
Bell Hooks.
Bell Hooks, yeah, Bellhooks.
All right, got you.
Yeah,
I thought it was Bill
Hoo.
Hicks.
Yeah,
Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks is good too, but Bell Hooks,
Yeah.
different author, and she identifies our primary enemies as capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist patriarchy, and I find that helpful because it's like that's what we're fighting against, no matter who's the president. And so that's what I kind of tend to focus on. But the Donald Trump shit is just like that's reality TV. That's like political theater, which is what I think a lot of people confuse politics with, as just like who do you vote for every 4 years? It's like yeah, that matters, but if that's all you do and you think you're changing anything, you're not changing anything, really.
With regards to Twitch streaming,
Yeah.
I think you've disappeared off the screen.
Oh no.
But I
Well,
can still
sometimes
hear
that
you.
happens. I just
I
got to
can
press
still
the
hear you.
button. I'll be
Oh, there
back.
we go.
Got a new camera.
Well,
today.
actually, that's a nice segue to Twitch streaming. So, at
It
the
was.
very start, so obviously, I don't know if you remember, but I interviewed you and Sage over a phone call a couple of years ago, before lockdown and stuff. And it was I was just doing an audio podcast, just kind of sort of a couple a month of interviewing people.
Yeah.
And then when lockdown started, obviously 90% of my income was associated with live events or merch or whatever. So I was like, right, okay, as an event organizer and a performer, I'm in trouble. So I decided to, luckily, Hamish gave me a loan of a webcam and a microphone. And I started streaming to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch and Twitter. And I was just trying to figure out, because obviously you're splitting the views a little bit. But I ended up going for YouTube, because their copyright thing made a bit more sense. Facebook's just a nightmare. I was getting copyrighted for my own stuff. I was getting copyrighted for things that didn't happen. But at least on YouTube, it's like, you did use that song and you can't monetize it, which is fine because I think monetizing one of my interviews is about 40 pence anyway. So I don't mind swearing, talking about politics, or it doesn't matter. But yeah, I've noticed that you've obviously got a really good Twitch community building. Is there a particular reason why did you think Twitch worked best for you rather than YouTube? Because I was doing quite well on Twitch, but I decided to just sort of encourage people to go to YouTube instead, just because it had a bit more permanence. When I was interviewing someone, I think people were more likely to watch even an old interview. So I just want to ask you, what is the advantages of Twitch? And also, I noticed you've got a Discord server. I've never used Discord. Is it worthwhile? Should I maybe be setting one up?
Yeah, I've dug into it all since the pandemic too, and the main thing that really has mattered the most to me is Patreon, and the Patreon supporters really single-handedly kept me from being totally fucked during the pandemic, and
Same.
it's the only thing that kept me being able to write music continuously, have a steady income, and keep working and developing. And as I was doing that, my nephew got me playing Minecraft a lot because I was just kind of like playing with him to hang out with him essentially during the pandemic. So we were playing a lot of Minecraft, and I was on Patreon. I guess it was probably him talking to me about Twitch. And I did for a while, I was splitting it as well with like Twitch and YouTube, but I found that Twitch was getting funny about sending people notifications when I did that. And sometimes the multi-stream stuff was just a little too difficult to like understand or keep track of. It might be something for me to try again now that I understand more of what's going on, because it was all just like such a learning curve of like sound alerts, fucking OBS scenes. Like I'm still setting up so much stuff. Today I just bought a new camera to replace this one because of that white square thing that happens every like 25 minutes. So I mean, it's and I started with on a 2014 MacBook, which was the one we used to use on stage. That's what I was streaming with, and we did like a whole show in Minecraft during the pandemic. And we booked like multiple acts. We made a bunch of money. I was able to pay all the acts, it's probably sometimes better than what I might have paid him if we had done it in real life. And audience members were able to like attend inside Minecraft. So it was like during the pandemic when no one could be together physically, it was like such a cool thing. And yeah, Twitch seems to just be where like, that's probably where I just like figured out how to do more stuff first. It was like I got the sound alerts working, and and I was like, okay, all right, it's Twitch. But yeah, I also have a YouTube channel that I am now just like giving attention, and I need to like clean it up, label the videos better, fix the captions, get rid of some shit that isn't supposed to be there. But I see the value in both. I think YouTube is probably the one that has the potential to pay the most over time. But Twitch sends me money, and really like compared to what I was doing before and trying to just deal with Facebook and giving Facebook money to try desperately to like game the algorithm and reach my fans was a nightmare on Facebook, is still a nightmare on Facebook. I've come back just to promote these shows and this tour to Facebook for the first time in a couple of years.
You hate Facebook, don't you? Genuinely hate
Facebook. I hate this shit. The comment section, even like people saying like annoying shit to me and that I haven't heard on other platforms. I'm like, how does this website do it? How is it just like collect all the negativity in the world?
Well, on you call it radios, Facebook, I can share a funny meme and get 100 likes, but as soon as I mention that I've got a show tonight with Dolan, it's crickets. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, so the way that I've found, the only way that I can use Facebook for advertising is, I mean, we're actually streaming to Facebook as well. To anyone who's watching on Facebook or Twitch, YouTube, please go to YouTube. It's better there for me.
Get out of there.
Get out of there. But yeah, I think what I do is I make a daft video, so like a comedy video, and then at the end, it's just a catch. It's got an advert attached to it. You know, it's like whatever. But that's the only way that I can get. So then you get laugh reacts, and Facebook goes, "Oh, this is something funny," or angry reacts. You know, encouraging people to do angry reacts works as well.
Yeah, yes,
but you've got to think out the box. Facebook wants the money. It wants your money if you're going to try and sell something.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and I kind of quickly realized that even before the pandemic, before we had stopped touring, it was just like, okay, the only thing we can do is pay Facebook to run ads. So that's kind of all I do right now. Like there's somebody running paid ads for the whole tour, and hopefully it's leading people to our ticket links. But yeah, meaningful engagement on there just didn't become a thing at a certain point. And you know, we're investing so much energy into all this shit. Like we're thinking about what can I do that is going to be shareable, be liked, be whatever. And we're creating, we're being creative. And a lot of times we're doing like incredibly creative shit. And it's like, if we're going to do that work, we shouldn't have to pay money on top of it. Like we do that work, we give that work to these platforms.
Free content. You're actually
and they go like, cool, now pay us.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You're creating. You've got, if you're doing an engaging post or an engaging video, then you've got people hooked into that website and they're seeing more adverts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's messed up, man. How is it? How's it been anyway? As a, because obviously I think you said to me that you're releasing this album independently.
Yeah.
How's it been different? Is it too early to tell in the campaign, or is it just a lot more work? Or because I know that you were always quite independent minded anyway, and you've
Yeah.
already got a fan base there. So the trick is, I suppose, trying to reach them.
Yeah. I was used to doing most of that work. And especially as like time went on, I got my brain around more and more of it. I was like, oh, that's what this is. Okay. Well, and my like natural curiosity for like how shit works and how things get rolled out and all that led me to kind of test a bunch of things, see which things worked, which things didn't work. And, the more I did it, the more I started to understand like, oh, okay, this might be useful to make for this or something like that. But because of Patreon and during the pandemic, I kind of really just like disconnected from the idea of releasing music in the traditional way that I had been doing it, because that whole method had been built around the idea of me touring perpetually, taking advances before making the album, using the advance to make the album and live at home, and then going on the road to sell the record, repay the advance, and or raise some money for the next thing. So when you take out the road from that equation, it's just like, well, I shouldn't take that advance now. But it was way superior because I got to stay home, and my most engaged fans were like, we'll advance you to make another album. We will give you steady stay at home money so you can stay in your studio and write or build the studio actually. Since I'm in my backyard right now, like we built this building since the pandemic. And so the ability to do all that, I just kind of stopped even thinking about like, what am I going to do with these songs? I just made more and more songs. So I have more songs right now than I've ever had unreleased at any point. And I still have kind of like a fuzzy idea of how it's all going to come out next year. I'm just this week getting the pre-mastered finished version of all these songs. And now I'm going to kind of look at it as a collection and be like, are some of these not fitting together? Do some of these want to be their own EP? It's more than an album's worth for sure. So yeah, I'm just like still adapting basically and exploring possibilities and seeing what's up. I certainly have all the tools to release it independently, and it's gone well so far. People seem real excited. So yeah, that's the plan for now. You may have. Oh, I think you might be muted. I don't hear you right now.
Cried out.
There you are. You're back.
Can you not hear me?
I couldn't hear you for a second. Now I hear you.
Yeah, so the rock that cried out. I'm just going to put the link in the comments for people. I got I sent the single earlier on in the week. It's absolutely fantastic, and the video is out tomorrow. I don't know what time in Scotland. Sorry, 9 hours. It's actually out in 9 hours. So it's out.
Wait a minute, is that right?
If you're a nighthawk like myself, you can watch it tonight. The rock that cried out. Tell us about the video. I heard that you're excited for people to see this one.
Yeah, so we besides the Patreon, we also did a couple of successful Bandcamp vinyl campaigns, where we funded pressings of my first album and my mixtapes into a compilation. And after we did that, I was kind of like, all right, let's try Kickstarter. Let's try the other thing I was like hesitant to do for a bunch of years. And because I had written all these demos and they were very finished demos from my Patreons, I was able to then take all the demos, present them in a Twitch stream and say, I want to finish this album. And I played all the demos for people. So rather than it being a Kickstarter for like a hypothetical album that doesn't exist yet, this was like, here's all the songs. Here's what they sound like. I need this amount of money to pay session musicians, mixing engineers, mastering engineers, cover, all that stuff. And that was in April. And when we did that, this song was one that somebody in the chat actually, and the Twitch community reached out and was like, I love this song. I'd like to do a video for it. and they sent me the portfolio, and it was full of all this like very like organic, natural looking stuff, but modeled using like 3D textural stuff. It's really impressive and like unique looking. And yeah, the director just straight up put this video together, sent it to me, and a lot of people have responded to this song. It's a song written from the perspective of a rock, which is a fun like writing challenge for me that I wanted to try. It's the line comes from the Nina Simone song Sinner Man. She says the rock cried out, "I can't hide you," in the course of that. And during my recovery, I listened to that song a lot. And it was like, I feel like that rock. I feel like and so yeah, it was a fun like kind of writing exercise that resulted in a really cool song produced by Widowmaker. So I'm very happy that it's going to be the first thing people see. It's going to be an interesting first single kind of.
You talked there about your recovery. So my partner just had an operation last year for a ruptured tendon and trapped nerve on her back, and it was she was in absolute agony.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said she seen that she read what you had. I can't remember what it was, but she said that's the worst one than she had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what was that? How's recovery been going, and what was it happened? And if you don't mind talking about it.
Yeah. So I had apparently a genetic condition or predisposition towards weakness of the spine and vertebrae. And my whole life I've had kind of postural issues, and even as a kid I used to have to wear like bars on my feet and stuff like that. I have a young nephew who has similar problems now, and we're trying to like figure out how to work with him. But at the time, no one kind of just recognized it. And I grew up and I was a big dude. So, you know, I was just like, carry that box, carry that tree, carry that rock. I was, you know, a lot is expected of big dudes. And so I lived as a big dude for many years, and I was very physical on the road, and the way we toured was insanely physical. Just, you know, hauling 100-pound suitcase up and down flights of stairs and planes, trains, and automobiles. And I was on the Epic Beardman tour in America when these three fingers on my left hand went numb, and I was like, oh, that's weird, and it didn't progress to anything. There was some like tremoring. And I came home, went to PT. They thought it was a nerve problem. I got treated for 8 months, thinking it was a nerve problem with my elbow. And only when the pandemic happened and I stopped going to PT did my wife be like, hey, man, your back is still weird. You still got this numbness. You should get an MRI in your neck. And when I did, they were like, most of these vertebrae in your neck have been collapsed, possibly for 3 to 5 years. And they're pinching your spinal cord, which is why you've lost feeling in these three fingers. And that loss of feeling is going to continue to spread to your outer extremities and slowly up your body. And you're risking neck down paralysis. Like, don't get in a car accident. Don't bump your head. We need to operate in like 2 weeks. So basically I'm fused now with a titanium rod from the second vertebrae in my skull to the middle of my back. And I have kind of residual nerve damage on my left side. You can actually maybe even see my left arm is now like smaller than my right arm because of the loss of muscle mass. And there's still that numbness is kind of never going away. There's still some like balance stuff and all that, but the recovery was insane because all those nerves that had been compressed and pinched when they were like released by this new rod, every nerve in my upper body started to move and like return and you know, like be in pain. So it was just truly like hallucinogenic levels of pain, like levels of pain that I still struggle to describe. I'm almost amazed and grateful for the whole experience. Like, it was transformative in many ways. But yeah, I was like walker, cane, 6 weeks to stand and move normally again, 2 years for the nerves to regenerate. So there's definitely times in there where I never thought I was going to tour again or didn't know if I'd ever perform again. But surgeons do incredible things. and I'm back.
And the live show is it's feeling good to be. Have you performed live yet, or have you just been practicing?
Yeah, I've done a couple shows. This is going to be the first like stretch a tour that I attempt. So we're going to see how it goes. I mean, I have like health professionals. I continue to see uh, a great physical therapist and yoga teacher. I take yoga now, and so I have things that I do now, and it's going to be different
Well, at
because I'm
some
just
point, every musician round about the age of 40, which I'm not far off myself, you have to either choose heroin or yoga. It's the only way to go. And so I'm going to
yeah,
need to make that choice myself soon.
yeah. Go with
But
yoga. Yoga's better.
yeah,
Yeah.
go with yoga. Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Um, you said just the final thing on that point was I heard you saying an interesting story about there was a song in the car playing when you drove to the operation
Oh,
to you drove to the
yeah,
hospital.
yeah, yeah. That was terrifying. That was it was "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi. It was a combination of songs. It was Bob Seger's "Turn the Page" and "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi. Both are songs that on like late night drives. It's fucking 2 a.m. You're trying to get to a hotel in Nevada. You're in the middle of the desert. There's not another car for hundreds of miles. Uh, there's a lot of just lonely road time when you're a touring musician, and those songs are kind of about that. And so whenever those those songs both tend to come up on classic rock radio a lot. So whenever one of them would come up, Bob Seger's "Turn the Page" is one that Sage uh, publicly liked before me. He even like I think he covered it on Personal Journals. I think there's a live version of him performing it. Um, but it's one of those road songs that you just kind of turn up loud and just kind of like zone out to. And "Wanted Dead or Alive" is the one that from the time I was a kid I was always very into. And even had made a video to be played at my funeral while on tour once, because this director had like a green screen and a smoke machine. It was like, "You got an hour, what do you want to do?" I was like, "Let me make this fucking silly video of me lip syncing Bon Jovi's "Wanted Dead or Alive," and you can play it at my funeral." And it existed. I never released it. It was just something I had. So that song, as we're pulling out of my driveway at 4 a.m. to go to the hospital for the 8-hour surgery, Bob Seger's "Turn the Page" plays, and I'm just like, God damn it, I'm fully like facing the possibility that this surgery I'm about to have could result in me being paralyzed or dead. And I hear that one, and it's just like, the time of being on the road is over, man. This is it. Like, this is why. And the way it came on was weird too, because like I came in the car, turned it on, turned on the radio, and it went from silence to the first note of that song, like as if I had played a CD. Like I didn't hear a DJ talk, I didn't hear a fucking commercial. I just heard that song, and I'm driving, I'm keeping my shit together, and then the next song is "Wanted Dead or Alive," and I'm like, motherfucker, like this is the sign, this is the goodbye from the world, like this is it, like do your death dance now. Like and it just was overwhelmed with just terror in that moment, like
Fuck.
god damn it, like fuck. But then the next song was "Today's Tom Sawyer" by Rush. That one kind of gets me going. So I was like, fuck it, not dying today, fuck it.
I'm glad the surgery went well, mate, and I'm buzzing to see you. I don't know what day. I'm at Solf. We're playing Solfest next weekend
Nice.
down in Cumbria, so from Thursday to Sunday. But I'm hoping we might be back in time for the Monday night in Glasgow. If not,
It's
I'll
gonna be
try and
lit.
get through to the Voodoo Rooms next week. So I'm just going to put that on the screen one more time for people to see. And I've put a link in the comments to get your tickets for it. Yeah, the last question I was going to ask you is just about collaborations. So there's a so that's the list of it. So London, Preston, Dublin, Brighton, Bristol, Leeds, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, and there's 6 opportunities to go to the Voodoo Rooms Edinburgh Fringe. Half
Yeah,
10 at night. Is it half 10 at night show?
yeah, nighttime Fringe, it's gonna be interesting.
Okay, it's half 10 is it's quite early for the Fringe. I've got some friends who was doing midnight shows, and they all seem
Word.
to be going really well. So
Nice.
and you've got here the so for tickets, just go to probably imbdolan.com. It's probably the best
Yeah,
place for everything.
yeah, just scroll down, they're all there, and the links are all there.
So collaborations. So in the past, you know you've already collaborated with some of my favourites: Sage Francis, Aesop Rock, Buck 65, Scroobius Pip, Dan Lissac. Apologies if I've missed anyone. But in an ideal world, who would you most like to get a guest verse from on a B Dolan joint?
Scarface.
Scarface.
Let's go full circle. Let's bring it back. Scarface.
Let's bring it back to the start.
There's still time, Scarface.
New video out tomorrow. I've put a link in the comments, guys. That's the link here. If you just click that, turn your notifications on. There's a wee notification button, and you'll see it in about 9 hours or 8 hours, I think now. And yeah, the new single's incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing the visuals. When can we expect the album?
Spring 2024.
Next spring. Amazing. Thank you.
Blame the time it takes to press vinyl.
Also, I'm just going to leave a wee link in the comments as well to. I've started making a hip hop podcast thing, so just with all the hip hop interviews. So we do a bit of everything, you call that radio, but we've got the Wu-Tang affiliate, Bronze Nazareth, Sarok, Brother Ali, Abdominal, Mystic from Digital Underground, Apollo Brown, Fillmore Green, Loki, Dan McGarvey, and all sorts of good stuff there. So I've put a wee link to the hip hop playlist in the comments as well, guys, if you want to get some more. But thank you very much, B. It's been a pleasure, and I'll hopefully see you in the real world next week.
Yes, see you then.
Nice one. Thank you. We're back tomorrow night with Zara Gladman, who is a comedian, musician. She's absolutely hilarious, and she's also... So we're going to interview her first tomorrow. I'm going to speak to her. I'll put it on the screen just now, actually. So that's Zara. She's hilarious. She's going viral all the time. She's so consistent with her comedy. That's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We'll be live with her. And then on the Saturday, I will be a guest at Edinburgh Fringe at the Newtown Theatre with Darren McGarvey. He's doing a Common People podcast at the Newtown Theatre at 7:30 every night. I think he's about 10 shows deep just now. And it'll be the last night of the tour. So go and check that out. Saturday, Newtown Theatre. It's going to be myself and Zara Gladman being interviewed by Darren McGarvey, he's an Orwell Prize winner, but most of you will know him as the rapper. And yeah, I'm excited for that. So that's Saturday. My band Gyro Babies is playing Solfest on next Friday, 6 o'clock on the Melodrome stage, and then we're playing Lindisfarne Festival the following week after that, on the 31st. Go and buy yourself a B Dolan ticket, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock, same time tomorrow. Thank you to B Dolan. Have a good night. See you later. Bye. You want weirdo or do you want itchy? What?